as the new year begins, it is appropriate, as we have often done, to offer information, some foresight or understanding of what the year coming is to bring and how one may or may not be able to deal with the issues. It would be nice to say there is something radically different or new from the most recent previous years, but it is sad but true that the process which began of causing the human species to become even more acutely aware of its need to care for the environment it lives in, that pattern will continue, which means that the degradation of the environment will continue because obviously it has not gone far enough, or there would be change already. There are little changes. We understand that, yes? Small changes are being initiated by individuals, by groups, by smaller specific nations, or even cities and states. They recognize and they acknowledge that they recognize by taking specific actions. But as in all things, not enough of those entities have made the commitment with conscious awareness to change their way of being and thereby change the speed and the progress of degradation so that eventually it may stop, and then to act innovatively and progressively to repair the damage. And so one can say that in the year coming, there will be many similar incidents as you have seen in the past. Politically, there is a crisis coming for the nation state that is this unit's home location. I believe it is the United States, because they are conflicting the very essence of their idea of themselves with the way things are being done in this nation state. The responsibility is not all on one set of shoulders. There are numerous beings who could take action, but they have chosen not to, because they are busy trying to turn the current situation into some form of advantage for themselves. And while that goes on, the common man, the voter, those who can make decisions if they become active, watches in wonderment and confusion, because it is a slow process for an individual who has not accepted responsibility for themselves and the actions that they perform, as well as those that result from their performance of action, to accept responsibility that you have a voice and that your actions will count, and that you cannot afford to delude yourself into wanting something to be so and pretending it is because you prefer it over what you know to be so. It is not the only nation facing, shall we say, a political crisis, but it is most dramatic in this nation state because of its own idea of its self-image, which has always been, shall we say, slightly skewed, but in this case is facing a direct confrontation. The reality of this nation state in comparison to the illusion of what it is has become more dramatically expressed. And it is not necessarily the prettiest of pictures. However, having said that, there are many other nations where individuals actually do have a choice. Some less choices than others. Some are more subject to military control. But even then, uprising is possible. The only question is, will it be essentially peaceful and functional, or will the situation become so dramatic that only violence is possible to change what has become an established oppression? That has yet to be decided, as so many things are in progress and motion. There will be a sad loss of many ocean-going creatures. Those that are most sensitive to temperature change will, of course, be most deeply affected. This is, of course, all in relationship to the concept of preserving the environment which birthed you and which supports you, and recognizing the interrelationship between all things on this planet, whether they are actually physically alive and breathing, whether they are inanimate objects that are alive, or whether it is simply the ground you walk on. Because there is energy in all of these things. And the interconnectedness of that energy is going to be experienced more and more frequently, because serious disruptions in any one area will have repercussions in other areas. It is inevitable. It would be nice to offer you as well some kind of wonderful, hopeful, secure message that would say to you, well, yes, it's going to be difficult, but then these wonderful things will happen. Again, so much is in flux. We cannot be sure. But we can remind you that every individual who aligns themselves with an understanding of nature will usually be able to find a way to avoid the results, the worst results of these negative actions. Not always true. Many good people who would not be the ones causing the problem will be affected by the results of the problems other people are causing. That is sadly always true. But that is also part of the pattern of divine influence in your lives and the way in which you go through the process of life and learning. It's all very well integrated. At this time, there are still small pockets of sacred space wherein the life forms are protected from what is going on around them. That continues right now and will continue into the future. The less human beings know about such places, the better. We apologize, but there is an electronic device that is making sounds, and this unit is not aware how to cause that to stop at this time. However, we must encourage you all that if you are going into the new year, remember that it is a new year. Remember that at least within the scope of your own understanding of yourself and your own growth, you can cause innovation and change. You can progress further. And it is also true that the further you progress in your understanding of yourself and your relationship with the divine, to the lessons that you are learning at this time in this embodiment, as you go forward with those, you receive the gifts of what one might call abilities or powers, as it were. The ability to perhaps protect yourself or those you love even more from the results of other people's actions. And so we still encourage every person there, every person listening to this, to continue your practices, continue to understand that you are only partially in a reality which exists. And that the other reality, the true reality, the reality where you are the divine manifesting in a form, in that reality, you have the amazing ability to cause massive change even in physical reality. So if you progress, if you continue to understand who you really are, in that growth and understanding are your best potentialities for controlling what is going on in your immediate vicinity and protecting yourself from the side effects of other, shall we say, less than consciously aware actions. Remember, too, that if you were born and are alive in this lifetime, if you are an adult and your mind is clear and you are pursuing your spiritual growth, that you chose to be here at this time so that you could help. Now, you may want to have words with yourself about that, because it was certainly a rash decision on many planes, but it is also a generous decision. It is the choice that one who knows that there is more to the universe than just the physical reality makes, because they want to share that truth. Not all who made that choice are at the level of the Bodhisattva. So they have not necessarily made a vow. But there are many who have made the choice to be here, who are in different levels of expanding their consciousness, but who deliberately chose to exist during this time of trouble so that they could lend their aid. Your thoughts of love and understanding, your thoughts of the awareness of who you really are, the relationship between the divine and the physical. All of these are the tools which will help you help this reality to continue. And it is a most creative reality. And that is all for your New Year's message for the year 2019.